Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown studios at Santander Stadium. Talking York's home teams. Welcome to York College Spartans Sports Weekly on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Now, here are your hosts of Spartan Sports Weekly, Darrell Henry and Scott Geis.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon to you. Happy York College Spartans Sports Weekly. What do you say, Scott? Agreed?
Oh, definitely agree. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about today.
We do. We better not waste 7 minutes in the opening again.
No, I mean, we don't need a weather report today, though. I will say this. The unexpected snow on Saturday morning did put a crimp in some plans. But, what are you going to do? Can't control a man winter. We've proven that this year.
It wrecked some weekends. In fact, number of weekends wrecked on Saturday. How many players are on that baseball team?
A lot. Yeah, it was some happy campers. You go from playing a home doubleheader to traveling down to Fredericksburg on a Sunday. Yeah, not a whole lot of fun for those guys.
Well, we will talk about that. I'll tell you one thing, Scott, that's on my mind. Thinking that the weather will be getting better here soon. I'm really starting to get the itch for that April 9th game. I'm really starting to get excited about that one here at the stadium.
A week from Thursday,
yep.
Which is really, in the big scheme of things, right around the corner. So, yeah, very excited to have that game here, and certainly hope we have a nice weather day and a pretty good crowd coming down here. I actually know that I'm inviting my kids' team to come and get a chance to watch the game and hang out in the stadium. And certainly it's free to everybody, so we're looking forward to hopefully getting a lot of people down here. And obviously the weather's going to have a large part of that. If we have a nice weather day, I think we'll have a pretty good crowd.
Now, is the Windsor youth team ready to break camp?
No. We've had a practice that lasted about 50 minutes before it started pouring, and it was on a tennis court. So, the Windsor Spartans not ready to go quite yet. So,
not quite yet.
But we have a good group of kids. I'm looking forward to getting a chance to work with them as we move forward. So, it's a busy springtime for me for sure.
I always love seeing the youth teams come out to Spartan games, and good stuff with you bringing your team out for the baseball game. I know we see that with basketball. Do we see that with some of the other sports too?
Sometimes we have a lot of soccer. The soccer has been traditionally one of the strongest. We get a youth teams out, get to participate, get to walk out in the field with the guys, which I know is a big deal. And I'm sure Coach Sheffy will continue that tradition. It's been a pretty strong tradition over the last couple of years. We get a lot of youth lacrosse teams. A lot of the youth lacrosse teams like to come out, and especially earlier in the year when they have yet to really start playing games, they're just practicing, so they get the opportunity to come out and see the collegiate lacrosse game and get the opportunity to see our guys and actually our women too. Really is a kind of a nice opportunity for those local teams to see high quality play.
Well, you can find our show, of course, here on radio, as you're likely doing. You can find us online, WOYK1350.com, on the WOYK mobile apps as well. You can link up to us through YCPSpartans.com, and archives of this program are available there as well. So, Scott, so many topics that we've thrown into the stew here on this Monday afternoon. You want to start with some lax?
Let's go with some men's lacrosse. I think that'd be a great place to start.
And it was a great week for the men's lacrosse team, and we can recap both contests starting on Wednesday, Scott. This one was at home, Wednesday of last week, and a 14-7 win over Marymount. And by the way, both victories last week come from behind variety. They trailed 2-1 in that game on Wednesday after the game's first 3 shots went in.
Yeah, it was kind of nuts. We're like, memo to defense is you can start playing at any point in time, but it was a pretty interesting start to the game. I'm not quite sure I've ever been involved with a game where the first 3 shots found the back of the net.
And then 5 unanswered, the Spartans would score from there. And, of course, the story on Wednesday as they took control of that game with that 5 unanswered would go on to the 14-7 win. The story was Tyler Hudson, and I asked you last week if the hat trick plus is a rarity in lacrosse. Well, he did it twice plus. He had 7 goals in that game on Wednesday. So maybe he was listening, and maybe that was an answer to me. He scored 7 to tie his career high. What a day.
Well, it's interesting. After the game against Eastern last Saturday the 21st, I had looked at my assistant. I said, he's got to be getting close to 250. And we looked it up, and thankfully he was only at 240 because I would have felt awful if he had reached that milestone and I had missed it, which has happened before, and it's not a fun position to be in. However, we looked it up, and then he comes into the game needing 10. That's a big day. Well, he got 9. He had 7 goals and 2 assists, and the 7 goals ties a school record, ties his own career high for goals in a game, and the 9 points is 1 away from a school record. And it was a pretty impressive performance. And here's the impressive thing to me: he scored 7 goals on 9 shots. Yeah. There's a goalie in there trying to stop you from scoring. He scored 7 goals on 9 shots. That to me is it's unbelievable. And he's such a sniper. And what's even funnier is Marymount in the second half face guarded him. It was literally like you would see on a basketball floor, a box and one. They literally put a guy in front of him and face guarded him the whole time. He still got goals. So, one thing about Tyler, he's incredibly unselfish. So there was a point in time when they started face guarding, he recognized and started setting screens for people and then rolling off the screen to try and get open. And, he's just so unselfish. He's such a team player, and that really, that's unusual, I think, for a big-time goal scorer, is to see somebody who's so unselfish. He's just as happy getting a pass as he is scoring a goal. So it was pretty cool to see him get those 9 points, and then obviously, and at the same time a little disappointing because you're hoping that he's going to get that 10th point so that he reaches the milestone at home. And, he's by far our all-time leading scorer. I think he passed that at somewhere around 180 last year. But he's our all-time leading goal scorer, all-time point scorer. And he's starting to creep up the list on assists now, as he really has become a complete player in terms of being able to distribute and score. So, and the great thing about Tyler, as good a player as he is, and he's a great player, he's an even better person. And that to me is really what you want to get out of your student athletes. And he certainly sets a very high standard for our team.
Well, and the team would go on to a big win on the road on Saturday as well, starting to get themselves righted, it would seem at this point. But after Wednesday's win, Scott, you had a chance to catch up with head coach Brandon Childs.
We're here with York College head coach Brandon Childs after the Spartans' 14-7 win over Marymount University. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Pretty decisive win today. You guys played pretty well, and also got a huge performance from Tyler Hudson with 7 goals and 2 assists. Talk a little bit about Tyler's performance today.
Yeah, I think he did a good job of being patient. They actually face guarded him the whole second half, and that can kind of get most scorers out of rhythm, where they face guard you and then you try to press and do too much. And he's really patient, and it's so weird, but the games where teams focus on him and shut him off, he usually goes for big numbers, which I think is what makes him great. He's a smart player, and he's steady and composed. And so he didn't try to do anything more than what it took for our team to win. And because of that, he ends up getting open. And when he does, he just shot, 7 of 9 today, which is, hard to do. And I think it was a good week of just shooting to score and less about the goalie and where to put it and just letting him play instinctively. And when you let him do that, he does pretty well.
Only 9 turnovers today, something that had been kind of a bugaboo the last couple of weeks. What did you guys do better today that you hadn't been doing the last couple games?
I think we're running offensive sets that are, it's easier as a midfielder to see where help's coming from. And so we've simplified what we're doing offensively very dramatically since the E-Town game. So our last 2 games, and our turnovers 14, the last game 9 today. Our turnovers are way down since we made our offense much simpler. Now we just got to learn how to play within that simple offense to get us a little, a couple more looks. But that's helped a lot in the turnover. We've been much more composed in the clear, and that's helped as well. Our close defense hasn't made too many costly turnovers, goalie, and so that allows for us to be aggressive offensively and get the turnovers, at least trying to make something happen as opposed to the unforced ones.
Now you're getting ready. You're now in conference play, obviously, first conference game today. Are games a little bit more important, or is it just, you got to just keep taking one game at a time and you're going to be in conference play the rest of the way?
Yeah, both. The games are more important. The conference is and the NCAA has done it. They've set it up that if you win, your league is the ticket to advance into May. And so the games are definitely more important, but that won't stop us from, one at a time. And so the next most important one is Mary Washington on Saturday. And, they're a great team and have been, and it's kind of like a cool little rivalry going on between the two of us, so our guys will definitely be ready for Saturday.
You're about a little over halfway through the year. Are you satisfied with where they're at, or you still feel that there's a lot of growth left for this team?
Yeah, I think I'm the furthest thing from satisfied. We're not. We have some talented kids, and we're still tinkering with things to try to figure out what pieces to put where. But yeah, things are. We're definitely still a work in progress, and we're making that progress. But yeah, I wouldn't say we're satisfied. We're not even close. We just got to keep working. And I mean, to be honest with you, we just won by 7 goals, and I was kind of shaking my head as I got off the field, thinking of all the things we probably could have done a little bit better. And so we'll get back at it tomorrow.
All right. Good luck at Mary Washington.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Brandon Childs joining us. And so, Scott, 14-7 win on Wednesday at home against Marymount. Then they go to Mary Washington on Saturday. Mary Washington, a pretty decent team, and the Spartans, one of their bigger tests of the season in terms of coming from behind, and probably one of their grittier wins to date, coming back from down 3 in the third and winning eventually 9-6.
Yeah, to come back after trailing in the first half and really not playing great in the first half is a great sign, and defensively to hold them to 1 goal. Now, they graduated a bunch, but they're really good at a lot of things, and that was one of the things I know. They're really good at face-offs. They're really good on the wing play. It's something that Coach Childs knew going down there. And every time it seems like we play Mary Washington, it's close one way or the other. So to go down there and get a win is significant. To continue the momentum is significant. We're playing a lot of young guys. And that is, they're still young. They're still freshmen. They're still learning. And that's difficult, especially when you're pretty experienced in the other areas of the field. But guys are starting to play together a little bit better. We're starting to get some guys back from injury, which is important. And there's still a tough road to go. I mean, at St. Mary's on Wednesday is going to be tough. Frostburg has been playing really well, really well. At home on Saturday, that's going to be a tough game. And, there's still at Stevenson, at Salisbury. There's still a lot of trips on that schedule that are challenging and difficult. So, it's not, we're not out of the woods yet, but certainly to have won 3 in a row and won 3 in a way the way we've played, we've done a good job. That Eastern win was gritty. The Mary Washington win was gritty. And we did some good things against Marymount. So things are starting to come together, but there's still a long way to go. And, this team, there was so much hype surrounding this team, and maybe not justifiably so, as young as we were going to be in the midfield. But they've done a good job, and they've come through and are starting to mature and starting to play a little bit better together. So, hey, there's a lot of season left, and it'll be very interesting to see how this team can end up and what they can do at the end of the year.
Yeah, so 9-6 win Saturday. Dylan Hanna, one of those young players, a freshman, had 3 goals in that one. Of course, Tyler Hudson, his 250th career point, got to that milestone, scoring late to put on an insurance tally. So 6-4 now, 2-0 in conference. You mentioned 3 wins in a row, and Wednesday at St. Mary's at 4:00.
Yep, that'll be a good challenge. St. Mary's has kind of been a little bit of a schizophrenic team this year. They've had games where they look great, and they've had games where they look awful, and it just it's one of those things. You're pretty sure that they're going to play pretty well at home, so you need to be prepared and ready to play at 4:00 and ready to go.
Well, the women's lacrosse team, 15th in the country, they're rolling along nicely here, Scott. And Saturday, their most recent game against Marymount, just a completely one-sided victory for them. 17-4 they win. They scored 12 in the first half for the second time in 3 games. And one of the big things about that game, obviously we're talking about a one-sided victory for the ladies, so it's not like they were taken to the wire or anything, but they had complete balance on the score sheet in that game. That was one of the big takeaways there. Well,
not only that, you're coming off a loss to they lost to Gettysburg, who's 8th in the country, on Wednesday, and didn't look good doing it. And that being said, Gettysburg had come into the game losing 2 in a row in overtime, so they were, you're kind of dealing with a hornet's nest when you have that situation. And quite frankly, Gettysburg just played better than we did. And there's times when some of our youth and inexperience shows, and that happened on Wednesday. But to bounce back and be as balanced as we were against Marymount on Saturday was a very encouraging thing. It used to be for the women's lacrosse team, we'd have 2 or 3 main scorers, and that was it. the distribution of points on this team is pretty diverse, and that's a good thing because it's harder to prepare for a large group than it is for just 2 or 3 kids that score. So I think that provides us with some versatility, and that really has enabled us to play pretty well. In games like Marymount, there's a huge test on Wednesday against Catholic. That's going to be, they're nationally ranked as well. So the beat just keeps going on. We keep playing all these nationally ranked teams, which is no accident. Coach Mustin is very wants to play the best, and she tells her girls when she's recruiting that you're going to play a national schedule, and fortunately we're able to do that. So that'll be a good test, but it certainly was nice on Saturday get everybody in and get a chance to play well against Marymount.
If you did want to single out a couple of scorers, Brittany Noel with 4 goals leads the team with 19 in the year, and Jamie Verman right there near the top of the conference in assists as well.
She's really playing well. She's a kid who transferred from her sinus after her freshman year. She led her sinus last year in scoring, had 60 points as a freshman. Really is starting to feel comfortable, feeling more ingrained in the system than when she came, and I think that's a really good sign. She's a strong kid and really has a good sense of the game and really brings a toughness to the team and really is a distributor, a kid that can really find the open player and put them in position to be able to score while she can score herself. That was a big loss. She did not play in the Salisbury game, and certainly I think it would have been very helpful had she been available for that game to really make a difference, and I think she would have made a huge difference, actually, along with Megan Strauch was out of that game as well. So, we played that game, basically 2 of our best players sitting on the bench. So, we're going in the right direction. That Gettysburg loss notwithstanding, won 3 of the last 4 and, are playing better lacrosse and putting themselves in position to make a run in the CAC tournament again.
Yeah, for Verman, the numbers: 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 total points. The team now 7-3, 2-1 in the conference. You mentioned Wednesday against Catholic at home, 4 p.m. That'll be a good one to see.
It'll be a great one to see. That'll be a busy day with the track and field meet going on as well. So it's gonna be a little crazy over there on Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, and we'll actually talk some track and field and much more. Volleyball's got a new coach. The next Hall of Fame class has been announced. We've got baseball and softball, including an interview with head coach Jen Pettis that you had earlier today, Scott. So much more to come here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly. Pretty good stuff from lacrosse to get us off and running here on this edition. We'll be back here in just a moment on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
Blazing fast service for all of your wipeouts. OSS Health Urgent Care will take care of all of your muscular and skeletal sprains, pops, twists, and breaks in minutes, not hours. Open 7 days a week for your urgent orthopedic needs. Now at 2 convenient locations, 1855 Powder Mill Road in York and 856 Century Drive in Mechanicsburg. Visit us online at osshealth.com. OSS Health Urgent Care. Experience you can trust.
Dad, I'm home. Why am I not surprised to find you laying on the couch?
Oh, hi, son. Is your fall semester over already?
Yep, I love it at York College, and I really like living on campus this year.
Yeah, that reminds me. We need to have a little talk. About the facts of life.
Dad, we had that talk years ago. And anyway, I don't believe you ordered me from Amazon.com.
I mean, your mom and I are helping to pay for your college as much as we can, but now you've got room and board on top of books and tuition, and you haven't asked me once for money.
Dad, I told you last year that York Educational Federal Credit Union took care of all that. That student choice loan we applied for last year was a one-time application. All I have to do this year is tell them how much I need, and they send the money right to the school. The loan is set up similar to my Stafford loan, so I don't have to start making payments until 6 months after I graduate. I told you YEFCU rocks.
College has been good for you, son. You're smarter already.
York Educational Federal Credit Union, 1601 South Queen Street, York. Apply online at yefcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Believe it or not, spring is coming, and we've got the bases covered like etch with dirt during a tantrum. Join Darryl Henry and Atlantic League Manager of the Year Mark Mason for Revs Hot Stove Weekly every Friday at 4. Breaking news each week with the latest player signings exclusively here first. Plus fan interaction online, interviews with players, and we'll highlight really good calls from umpires. Maybe we should have stopped with interviews with players. Revs Hot Stove Weekly, Fridays at 4 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, York.
Back here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly, Darryl Henry along with Scott Geis, and this is a big week, Scott, bigger than most in terms of, not only do we have all of these sports going on and schedule catch-up and everything, a ton to talk about from a game standpoint, but some long-term stuff to discuss as well. By the way, before we get into that, what have the scheduling implications been like this week? I know we mentioned the baseball postponement from Saturday, moved that one on the road, which I'm sure thrilled everybody. How did the rest of the week go in that regard?
Well, it actually, you know what? This week is not impacted as much. This week's actually, I don't want to say light, but it's lighter than last week. Last week was really tough. We had a lot of stuff at home. There was a lot of juggling of schedules. I came into work on Tuesday to find out that we had 3 games at home at the same time, which for my staff kind of spreads us a little thin. Then we were supposed to have that on Wednesday, and baseball and softball got pushed back. Yeah. So it's kind of, and then Friday, baseball from Wednesday gets added at the last minute. It's kind of like, oh, by the way, hey, we're going to play baseball today. So, for my office, sometimes that can be one of the issues we have is program production. Like there's a bunch of programs sitting on the back table right now for the Mary Wash doubleheader. Well, we ended up not needing them. So, for people that have been to our games and see the programs we do with the 11x17 full color fronts and all that stuff, that's not cheap to produce, and then you're not using them, and it's kind of, it can be a little frustrating from that standpoint. But that's part of playing in the spring. That's part of playing in the spring in central Pennsylvania. So that's part of the deal, and it can get a little frustrating at times. And last week was as busy a week, I think, as we've had in a long time, and it just, you just kind of basically show up for work, get ready for the game, and you go out and cover the game and then write the stories after and do everything you need to do post-game. And, last week felt a lot like Groundhog's Day. Oh, hey, we're going to do the same thing again. And that's one thing I love about my job is the fact that a lot of times we're not doing the same things. But that was just the case last week. And, we survived and got through it, and it was okay. And, we're ready to get back to it this week. Fortunately, we don't have any home games on Monday or Tuesday and kind of jump back into it Wednesday and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. So knock on wood, nothing on Easter right now. I hope there's nothing on Easter, as that should be family time for everybody. But, it's nice to hopefully look at the weather and see that we're probably not going to have, well, I shouldn't say probably not going to, because who expected to get snow on Saturday morning. But, it looks like we're going to be okay this week in terms of being able to get stuff in.
Well, the game programs are the best that I've seen going around.
Thank you.
Wherever.
Our kids love them. I mean, there's some of my friends who work in the industry think that game programs are going the way of the, are on their way out. And everybody likes to use these QR codes so people can pull it up on their phone. And, the game programs, since we went to that format, have been one of the most popular things kids collect. Our athletes love them. And to me, that's the reason we do them. We want our kids to really feel like they're getting treated first class. And I think that's really important for us to continue to do. And, I think people like them. They like having them in their hands. The parents go crazy when their kids are on the program. And, I wonder sometimes if there's not a bunch of off-campus apartments that are decorated with various Spartan posters during the course of the year.
Could be. Well, some big news made during the past week, and we'll start with volleyball, Scott. New head coach.
Yep.
Sue Dumars had stepped down after last year, so the new hire is in place.
Yeah, Tim Bonnets has joined it. Actually, he was on our staff for the last 2 years as Coach Dumars' assistant. Super happy to have him on board. Tim does a really good job. He's the kind of guy that I think is going to do a really good job as a recruiter. He's going to do a really good job as head coach. He is the kind of guy that I think is going to really mesh well with the current players. They're very excited to have him on board. They've already started spring practice, so they're in good shape with that. But he's just a guy that I think is going to be able to take the program over and really kind of make it his own and be able to really raise the level of competitiveness within the CAC. I think we're at a point in the conference where we have a really good conference and we have some really good teams in our conference. So it's that being able to continue to recruit at a high level and really play at a high level is going to be important, and I think he's going to do a really good job with that.
He'll get to get acclimated right away, right? Spring
Yeah,
season.
They've already started practice, so he has been on board and running those spring practices, which is great. On that note, Coach Sheffy has arrived in York. He was in the office this morning. He's going to meet with the guys this week. They start playing next Monday, so they're going to get their spring season started. So the coaching staff is rounded out and everybody's in place, and with all the fall sports getting ready to start their non-traditional seasons, which volleyball obviously already started, women's soccer, field hockey's already started, and then men's and women's soccer will start next week. So a lot of excitement and expectations for around those programs as we move into the spring season and really get an opportunity to, those two coaches in particular, to kind of get hands-on with their student athletes on the floor and being able to kind of guide them and coach them and see where we're at in terms of players that are returning and not even including the new kids.
I have noticed the men's soccer team on their own playing a little indoor in the field house. Those guys like to get it going.
Oh, they do, and that's one of the great things. That's kind of a tradition that's been established by older teams. Was you go out and there's a lot of you always hear about basketball players playing pickup. Our soccer team does a lot of pickup during the course of the year, and that's kind of carried over to our women's team now. There's a lot more. I see a lot more of our women's team doing pickup and kind of things on their own to really make themselves better. And ultimately, you get better by playing the game. Obviously, you get better by doing the lifting and the conditioning, but you ultimately get better by doing things on the field, and that's been a great sign that our guys are out there working really hard. And quite frankly, they know that there's going to be a level of expectation with Coach Sheffy that they need to be ready to step up to and accept. So I think that's a really positive thing for those guys and for that team.
Well, Tim Bonnet's taking over the volleyball program, coached at Susquehanna High School previously. There's some great high school talent around York County, and they've been a really good program. The other thing that's interesting about his background, Director of Sales and Marketing at York Barbell.
Yeah, that's his job, and that's something that he's a smart guy, and I think that shows when you talk to him. He really understands a lot of things that are, on the periphery. As a head coach, you have to do a lot of different things than you did as assistant coach. And I think he's got a really good grasp of that, and I think he's going to be great to work with, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to work with him and see how we can better enhance the Spartan volleyball program.
Well, the other big piece of news this week, Scott, aside from just what our teams did on the field in the midst of their seasons, the 25th Spartan Athletic Hall of Fame class has been announced, and three names that I certainly remember. The players on this list, and the coach in particular is still making his mark. It's quite the group of three, and we'll even have a fourth one returning for the induction in the fall, since he missed last year for a pretty good reason too. Yeah, it's going to be pretty. It's going to be great. Carrie Casperson, who is now Carrie Zeck, Mandy Krabs, who's now Mandy Bushy, and then Paul Sakia are our three inductees this year. Carrie was an unbelievable volleyball player, probably one of the best players we've ever had in the program, a two-time CAC Player of the Year as we were still over in Old Wolf Gym. And then Mandy Krabs, who was just a rebounding machine. She was a fantastic basketball player. Think about Mandy. Mandy came in as a freshman, and she looked fine. She might have. I would never call her heavy by any stretch of the imagination, but she went on a fitness regime from the end of her freshman to the beginning of her sophomore year. Didn't even look like the same kid. I mean, she was a lean, mean fighting machine, and that really helped her in the basketball court. Her endurance was unbelievable, but she really kind of transformed
herself and really was kind of one of those first group of players that Coach Whitman recruited that kind of started that transformation of the program. Really, we made our first conference tournament championship appearance with Mandy on the team. She played with Heather Kessler and Ashley Robertson, just a really good group of players, and that was kind of the start of everything. I believe she played a year with Kristen Daly, I think. Might have been Kristen's freshman year. But kind of that transformation of getting better players. And Mandy, she's the only player in school history to have 1,000 points and 1,000 rebounds, at least on the women's side. So that's a pretty, and considering who Britt Hicks didn't even get to that mark. So that's a pretty impressive thing. Of course, Mandy Krabs didn't have Kristen Haley as a teammate to grab the other rebounds that she didn't get. So, Mandy was just a fantastic player, and certainly both of these women are fantastic people too. And then Paul Sakia, longtime baseball coach, over 500 wins as the Spartan baseball coach, and then has moved up into being the assistant dean for athletics and recreation, and certainly has had a large hand in the success of what goes on within the athletic department, and that's certainly a major accomplishment both for him on the field and then what we've done in his term as leadership of the Spartan athletic department. So, and then Andy O'Brien's coming back because last year he wasn't able to get inducted because of the birth of his daughter. So Andy, one of my favorites, great guy, now is a big time basketball official, which is hilarious. I think that's so funny because Andy would always be going back and forth with officials, and he doesn't put up with too much of that as an official. So it's great to see him work, but he does a fantastic job. Is really a rising young official, not only in college basketball, but has done some NBA developmental games, D-League games. So it's an impressive guy. He's one of those guys you always knew was going to be successful, whatever he chose to do. And of course, he's a teacher in the Philly area and also does, like I said, big time basketball official. So we'll be excited to have all four of them back on campus, and the induction ceremony will actually take place next October during Alumni Weekend. So it's going to be great to have all of them back. And Carrie's still local. She teaches in the Red Line School District. So her and her husband Josh are locals. I believe they live in West York. So it'll be nice to have everybody back, and it should be a really, really fun event.
I have a feeling we might have a show next October that's going to be some fun.
I think so. I think we can probably get some audio. So
probably.
The funny thing with with Carrie and Mandy, it'll be very. They're not big fans of attention. So it's always they always talk about teammates and what great teammates they had, but individually they were both fantastic players.
And both of them were 2004 grads of YCP, and just to. I almost forget how good, just from a statistical standpoint, Paul Sakia's baseball teams were. 9 trips to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, not too shabby.
No.
It's pretty good, and that that's he put a lot into that program, and still he cheers for everybody, but I think he cheers a little extra hard for that baseball program because those are still his guys, and Scap not only played for him but was an assistant coach for a long period of time. So he's always pulling for those guys. He's pulling for all our Spartans, but he certainly when we do well in baseball, he's pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I knew they were a power, but you look at some of those numbers, they really jump out. So that's a star-studded class. And for me, Scott, we're now starting to see some of the student athletes go in that I had a chance to be around as a student myself. So either I'm getting old or
I'm getting real old, because I remember, you specifically remember things that occur during their careers, and it's kind of cool. And what works for me, or what is really neat for me, is you see these student athletes who you knew as college kids, and now they're professionals, and they're parents, and their kids are getting old. It's not like they're just babies. They're 7, 8, 9 years old, and I'm like, holy mackerel, where did that go? It just, you feel you understand how you've been at a place for a really long time, and you kind of see this progression. And what will really be sobering is the first time you get one of those legacy kids whose parents played here. Oof. And now they're playing here. That will be particularly sobering. But I hope I make it that long to see some of that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think the first one that I had an opportunity to watch that was inducted was Matt Day, and obviously he he's a important member of our athletic department on the administration side now. But is there a time frame that they are to be out of school?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. 10 years from graduation date. So,
gotcha. Yeah.
That leaves you eligible. Now, quite frankly, there's a couple people that probably are Hall of Fame worthy that just, they have a couple classes left to take, or one in particular, Dan Johnson, who's probably one of our greatest men's basketball players ever, didn't graduate because he went into the service. He, felt the calling to go into I believe it's the Air Force, and never really got his degree. Is only a couple credits short, but certainly one of those guys that probably should be in the Hall of Fame, but by criteria that happened. So, it's interesting to see. There's so many. We sit around sometimes and say, "Hey, this is probably a Hall of Fame kid." Obviously, you see a tandem like Brittany and Kristen. They need to not only go into the Hall of Fame, but they need to go in the Hall of Fame together because they're so important. You can't have one without the other in a way that I think is really important. And we'll sit down all the time, and Betsy and I talk all the time. Well, Hall of Famer, not a Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, and we'll go through. Kristen Daly's going to be a Hall of Famer at some point in time. Kelly Ward. Duh. Yeah. She's an easy one. Yeah. But you have a lot of people and a lot of individuals who, it's going to start getting crowded really soon, and the selections are going to get tougher, and especially on the women's side, because women's athletics has changed so much over the last 20 years. We're getting student athletes now that have been playing their sport since they've been 5. That never happened before. We didn't have female athletes that were this accomplished. If you put our starting 5 in women's basketball together this year and play a team from 20 years ago, it's not even close. The talent level is just so much better and so much different. So Title IX has a lot to do with that in terms of opportunity for young ladies to be able to play. But it's pretty impressive. And really, even our male athletes, they're better athletes than what they were. That evolution of kids continuing to get better and more athletic and stronger. But it's a lot of fun to look back and go, what do you think the candidacy of this person is? So, we probably have a bunch playing right now that will end up in the Hall of Fame, and that's really cool to get the opportunity to watch them play.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it at all. Well, that's great stuff. That was a big piece of news that came over the wire this week, your wire, Scott, in particular, to be specific. And I'm sure you had fun putting that one together, too.
It's
the website part of it.
And anytime you get to look back at things and do a little research, and it reminds you of how long ago it was, and 2, how accomplished our kids were and continue to be, and that's really a neat thing for me to see, and just to see how these people have progressed in their lives. Hey, our job is real simple. We need to prepare our kids for real life. We don't have kids going pro, which is nice. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it'd be great if somebody did at some point in time, but really our emphasis is always for preparing our student athletes for real life, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in, and a lot of things, and something I think we do a really good job at. So, when you see kids go on to be successful, and not only successful professionally but personally with spouses and children, it's very satisfying to see that occur and to look back at that and get a chance to see that. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, there you have it, 25th Spartan Athletic Hall of Fame class. Carrie Casperson, Mandy Krabs, Paul Sakia, Andy O'Brien will be there for the fall weekend as well. Alumni weekend in October. Looking forward to that. Also looking forward to talking some baseball and softball in our next segment, so stay tuned for that. You're listening to York College Spartans Sports Weekly here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, I am Cindy Scullion, one of the proud owners of Frank Storm & Company. We have been voted one of the best for 14 years by the York Dispatch readers for your personal and business tax needs. Call one of my partners or competent staff to set up your tax appointment for your 2014 taxes. We also can handle doing payrolls, sales tax, and compilations for your businesses. Give us a call at one of our 3 convenient locations, York, Dallastown, and Hanover.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Red Lion, Backyard University is a beautiful, state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espedo, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The new Wyndham Garden York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall, has been fully renovated and remodeled. With 177 upgraded guest rooms, over 16,000 square feet of meeting space, 2 large ballrooms, indoor and outdoor pools, a much larger fitness center, a new business center, and free Wi-Fi throughout. The new Fender's Grill and Pub features American cuisine in a casual atmosphere using local meats, produce, wine, and craft beers. The new Wyndham Garden, 2000 Louts Road in York. Stop in or call us at 846-9500.
We're Screamin' Green. How about you? The York College Spartans are on Sports Radio 1350, WOYK.
All right, Scott, time to talk some softball as we move along here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly. Doing pretty well, and after playing one of the top teams in the country on Saturday, swept in that doubleheader, but they returned the favor against Wesley on Sunday, and pretty nice bounce back to get to 13-7 now.
Hey, 13-7, considering we've played 20 games and a bunch of them came this week, it's pretty good. They started the week with on Tuesday, they lost 1-0 to Gettysburg on a tight, well-played game, and then came back. Gettysburg, the second game of Gettysburg, we were down 5-0 after the first inning. And I'm sitting behind the backstop going, oh, it's going to be a 5-inning game, and we're gonna get pounded. But a strange thing happened. Bottom of the first inning, they get a couple runners on, they get a run. Bottom of the second inning, get a run. Bottom of the fourth inning, get a run. And all of a sudden, it's 5-3, and you're going, wait a second. We're in this. We took a 6-5 lead. Gettysburg tied it up 6-6 in the top of the seventh. We loaded the bases bottom of the seventh. Ashley Lechner gets a single through the middle, and we win the game 7-6. For a team that has 1 senior, no juniors, 3 sophomores, and 11 freshmen, that's pretty good. And that showed a lot of heart and determination for that group of kids to put together a comeback like that. Part of that, too, is they don't know any better. Let's just go play. It's a game. I think sometimes the older you are, sometimes you get caught up in expectations of, well, we should be doing this or we shouldn't be losing to this team. This team just kind of goes out and plays, and I think that's a huge credit to our coaching staff and a huge credit to our kids that they go out and play. And then they followed that up on Thursday with a sweep of Lycoming, a 4-0 win, a 1-0 win as Courtney Martin got a pair of shutouts. So that's certainly a pretty impressive thing. She's really blossoming. Actually, her and Melissa Jerkovic have pitched pretty well for the Spartans. As you said, a pair of losses to Salisbury, 10-2 and 9-1. I think the biggest thing on Saturday that proved the big difference between having juniors and seniors on your team and having freshmen and sophomores. And really, the physical difference. Salisbury Mashes, they just kind of bludgeon people. That's what it flat out comes down to. They're just going to score more runs than you. They have a good pitching staff. Probably not their best, still pretty good, but they're gonna bludgeon you basically. And then the wins, like we said, over Wesley 3-1 and 8-2. But I'll tell you what, one of the subplots of this week is field prep. The efforts from Coach Pettis, her husband DJ, who is part of their grounds crew, and the Pettis children, Chance and Caitlin, out there. It's a family affair for sure, but they really work their tails off to get the field ready, especially this weekend when you wake up on Saturday morning to some snow. So we were actually able to play Saturday at 3:00, which to me is amazing that we were able to play that game.
It couldn't have been pleasant.
Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah.
You kidding me? I had more layers on. I'm sitting behind the backstop with hand warmers, and yeah, I probably looked pretty interesting I probably looked like an Eskimo all bundled up. But to play through those circumstances, and quite frankly, to play, they were out in the field. Those kids were out in the field for like 4 hours before the Salisbury game trying to get the field ready.
Wow.
So physically doing all that field work and then having to play the game certainly took the toll. But to come back then on Sunday, and pick up those 2 wins is pretty impressive. So they'll have a busy week again this week. They'll go to at Penn State Harrisburg on Wednesday, then Frostburg at home on Good Friday, and then at home against Southern Virginia on Saturday. So 4 of the next 6 at home. Actually, that's not even true because then we'll play Messiah at home on the 8th. So it's a busy, we got a busy week coming up. The second half of the week for the softball team, and just hoping we can get some good weather because they're on a roll and they're playing pretty well. 5-3 on that homestand, considering 2 of those games were against the number 2 team in the country is pretty good. So a lot of positive things going on. This team's going in the right direction. We got kids that are doing a really good job.
You mentioned some of the youth. The one who is on not the mound but in the circle almost all the time is a freshman herself.
Yeah,
Courtney Martins
and Melissa Jurgovich, both are freshmen, or both our pitchers are freshmen, and they've been doing a fantastic job. And really, the thing that you noticed about both of them is they're very even keeled. They're not excitable. They just kind of go out and do their job. And Courtney got knocked around a little bit by Salisbury, which there's a lot of people that are going to get knocked around by Salisbury, but she maintained her composure. She did a good job. Melissa really did a great job in the second game. She only gave up. She gave up some loud outs in the game, but really attacked hitters and worked in the strike zone. And the fact of the matter is Salisbury's just better than we are, and we're getting there and we're working, but we're not there yet. So I think that's important to remember, and you understand that it is a process, but the process I think is going pretty well this year so far.
Well, and you had a chance this morning to catch up with Jen Pettis and get the latest from the head coach.
We're here this morning with softball coach Jen Pettis as we talk about the previous week in Spartan softball. The Spartans went 5-3. Coach, thanks for joining us.
How you doing, Scott?
Good. Let's talk first about the doubleheader that started the home season. You lost 1-0 to Gettysburg. You were down 5-0 in the top of the first, but came back to win that game. What did that win indicate to you about this team?
Well, I think the amount of fight that the team showed, after we really struggled offensively in the first matchup, to only put 2 hits on the board, lose a tough one, 1-0, to come back first inning to go down by 5. Some teams could easily roll over, but this team being as young as they are, really to show fight and grit and not to just match that 5, but to scrape, 1 across in the first, 1 across in the second, keeping that fight through the whole game, all the way to take the lead in the 6th. They tie in the 7th. We come up with a clutch, walk-off hit with Ashley Lechner. I mean, as a coach, you can't ask for anything better than that, to stick it through all the way to the last pitch, last out. That's our motto. That's what we're going to do. It's a process. Stick it through the whole way and see what comes out in the end. And I couldn't be more proud of the effort they put forward in that game.
And then you come back, you sweep Lycoming in a doubleheader. You have to face a very difficult Salisbury team on Saturday. You end up dropping those 2. Salisbury ranked 2nd in the country. But then yesterday, bounced right back and was able to down Wesley in a pair of contests at Spartan Field. What are your impressions of this team through kind of the first half of the year?
Well, I'll tell you, it was a tough week overall, weather-wise. I think
you guys put more field work in this week than you probably like to have to do.
We certainly did. We're a hands-on approach. Certainly, our team. We do a majority of the grounds work, and the girls were out there with rakes prior to the games on Saturday and Sunday. And obviously, everybody's aware of the bitter cold that we also played in. But overall, in general, besides Mother Nature, because everybody has to deal with Mother Nature. looking at the whole summary of the week, to go 5-3, like you said, Salisbury is a quality program, ranked number 2 in the nation. To bounce back, frankly, and sweep Wesley as a conference doubleheader was something that we talk a lot about. The best teams make the best second effort. And Sunday, we hashtagged it a little bit, second effort Sunday. But we went into that day with that mindset. Saturday was a tough day all the way around, but to come back and have 2 key conference wins, was amazing. And for the pitching, and obviously we relied on the long ball, so that's always a good thing to be able to have that in your arsenal, to have girls step up there and get runs in one swing of the bat. That's always nice to have. But the Lycoming games that you mentioned also is impressive, because those were shutout games that our pitching staff really has stepped up. They're freshman pitchers, and I think Courtney Martin secured her 6th shutout in the second game of the Lycoming series, and that was a 1-0 game. So all the way around, just solid defense, much better approaches at the plate. I think all the way through the week we saw a lot of growth on the team, and that's offensively and defensively. We had our share of mishaps, and we bounced back from those. And this team really has showed a tremendous amount of fight and heart to really believe they can pull anything out at the end of the day.
You talked. We were talking a little bit earlier before we started recording. The performance of Ashley Lechner, a kid who's transferred in. Still only a sophomore, a young kid herself. Talk a little bit about how she performed this week.
Well, I'll tell you, she certainly had a week to remember. And, her transitioning into left field was also something different, as she comes in here with really only a knowledge base and experience of playing second base. And for her, to go out there and play left field, and Scott, the catch that she had in left field in the game was an ESPN play, in my opinion, fully laid out, and just you're never going to get less than 100% effort from that kid. And she gets her money's worth at the plate. And it shows. She goes up there with such a good, sound approach, and for her to come in here, transfer in the spring semester, didn't have fall ball with us, and she just really seems like she's finding a nice home for herself.
13-7, 20 games in, about halfway or so. Are you happy with where you guys are at?
Absolutely, and I think we're only getting better every day.
All right, Coach. Thanks a lot. Good luck this week. Trip to Penn State Harrisburg, and then some home games this weekend. Good luck this week.
Thank you very much. The sunshine will come out, I'm sure.
I hope so.
There you have it. All right. Thank you, Scott. That is head coach Jen Pettis, who is thinking sunny thoughts.
I love her excitement. I love, she's so enthusiastic, and she's so into what she's doing. If your daughter, it's going to be, if you have a good daughter in softball, you might want to take a look and talk to Coach Pettis. She does a fantastic job, and really, we are certainly trending in the right direction.
No doubt. Well, we'll take one final break here on this program. Still baseball to come, and some breaking news as well, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more York College Spartans Sports Weekly after this.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
At OSS Health, our highly trained physicians are on the field, in the training room, at home games, or away. From preseason physicals to postseason surgery, we're on the sidelines so athletes don't have to be, getting you back in the game. When it comes to sports medicine, we're the ones you've trusted for 30 years. OSS Health Sports Medicine, experience you can trust. Visit us online at osshealth.com.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The new Wyndham Garden York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall, has been fully renovated and remodeled. With 177 upgraded guest rooms, over 16,000 square feet of meeting space, 2 large ballrooms, indoor and outdoor pools, a much larger fitness center, a new business center, and free Wi-Fi throughout. The new Fender's Grill and Pub features American cuisine in a casual atmosphere using local meats, produce, wine, and craft beers. The new Wyndham Garden, 2000 Louts Road in York. Stop in or call us at 846-9500.
Your home for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Just making sure that after 20-some years, you will never get that song out of your head. Welcome back.
No. That goes without. That will go without saying for sure.
To take you back to your youth.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm pretty old, so that was a long time ago for sure.
All right. Well, baseball, Scott, and a tough weekend for them. They face Frostburg on Friday, who I don't know if they're always this good, but they're a juggernaut.
Well,
this year.
they're playing really well, and the key thing is they're getting really good pitching, and that's we ran into 3 buzzsaws in the last 3 games, and that's when you don't. One of the problems we've been complaining about not being able to play, and now we're playing, but we're playing so many games in a row that our pitching staff is now thin. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You want to be able to play games kind of in a moderation, not all of a sudden all at once. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened this week. 2 against Southern Virginia on Monday, against Hopkins on Tuesday, Randolph-Macon on Thursday, Frostburg on Friday, 2 against Mary Washington, and then a game today at Shenandoah. So you're playing a boatload of games that are all 9-inning games. The conference games used to be, the doubleheaders used to be 7. Now they're 9.
Wow.
That's 4 extra innings that you got to throw a week. That's tough. So we're in a position right now. We just kind of got to get back up on the horse and start hitting the ball a little bit better. When you've scored 1 run over the last 27 innings of play, that's tough. So we just got to get back on the horse and start hitting the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, 3-1 loss Friday against Frostburg. Then the games Saturday were supposed to be at home. Those were moved to Sunday at Mary Washington. I'm sure everybody was thrilled about that. And that was a 4-0 and 3-0 loss in that doubleheader. Have gotten some pretty good pitching efforts, but still time to turn things around. 7-7 overall, 3-5 in the conference, and obviously, Scott, a ton of games in a short period of time, still a ton to come. And by the way, looking ahead, April 9th, as we mentioned, it's a 6 p.m. first pitch here at Santander Stadium. And
pretty excited about that.
Very excited.
Yeah, pretty excited.
We'll be on right after game day with Game Time PA that day.
It'll just flow effortlessly.
Hopefully.
Yes. Hopefully is right.
That's the plan.
But yeah, we're looking forward to it, and certainly we got a lot of games between now and then, and home game this Wednesday against St. Mary's, home game Thursday against Penn State Harrisburg, and then on the road Good Friday at Penn State Harrisburg, and then a doubleheader at Wesley, and then next Monday returning home for the makeup doubleheader against Marymount. So games on the 1st, games on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 2 on the 6th, 2 on the 1 on the 7th, 1 on the 8th, 1 on the 9th, then a doubleheader on the 11th, and then that wraps up conference play. So it's kind of hard to believe that really a week from 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be done with our conference play, which there's still a lot of games left. So, that's part of conference play in the Northeast for sure.
I won't do my prep yet because it will be very outdated if I were to do that.
Yeah, you're gonna need to do prep Wednesday night is probably what it's gonna be. So, it's we're looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great opportunity for our guys. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere, and hopefully, like I said, the key is if we have nice weather, we can get a lot of people out here and encourage them to come out and check it out and have the opportunity to if they haven't been to the stadium, see the stadium, but then also see a pretty good college baseball game.
Well, Scott, just a couple minutes left. I wanted to give a shout-out. Track and field, Robert Doster named the CAC Field Athlete of the Week. Got off to a great start in a couple of the throwing events to start his season, and the track and field team will be at home on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy day at home. We have women's lacrosse at the same time, but it's going to be a 10-team invitational. It's going to be pretty big. Get the opportunity to see some of our athletes at home. Very rarely during the course of the year do we get the opportunity to host track and field, but we're going to get that opportunity on Wednesday. And then actually we will host again on the CAC Championships the first weekend in May. So it's going to kind of be a preview. We're looking forward to it. This will be the biggest meet we've ever hosted at home with 10 teams. So Coach LoBianco is very excited about it, looking forward to it. Again, you hope you have nice weather. There's nothing worse than a track meet in rain and crap and cold. It's just not a whole lot of fun. Plus, you don't get very good pictures either because and when you're desperate for pictures because your team's only at home once, it becomes a little bit challenging. But hopefully we have a nice day on Wednesday and should be a great opportunity to come out. It's going to be kind of a carnival atmosphere between the track and field meet and lacrosse going on and baseball going on campus. It's going to be pretty fun, pretty crazy too.
And just coming over the news wire, breaking news, lacrosse is sweeping the Conference Player of the Week awards this week.
That's right. Tyler Hudson, the Offensive Player of the Week, and Caleb Abney, our goaltender, he was the Defensive Player of the Week. So, and then also more breaking news, Jamie Verman was named the Spartan Athlete of the Week. So lots of Athletes of the Week going on, which we love, and certainly some really good weeks for our lacrosse teams in particular as we head towards the midpoint of the season.
You know what?
We have a...
Great Odin's Raven! I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Might have been more effective had I done it before the announcement, but I felt it was warranted.
I think
it
was a big day. So so 3 congratulations to Tyler, to Caleb, and to Jamie for really having a really good week. And anytime that there's a little satisfaction as a director of athletic communications, we're in charge of getting all these nominations together for each weekly award, and it's kind of nice when you win one, especially when you have good candidates, and that's always the little competitive juices, and you say, hey, this is kind of fun. I like winning stuff.
I've never known you to have
No, I know. I'm not very competitive, but very happy for our kids, and ultimately all the things that we do are for our kids, and we're very thrilled to get those kind of accolades because I feel they're pretty well deserving.
Very much so. Well, Scott, enjoy the busy week ahead. Thanks again for this program, and we'll do this again next Monday at 4.
Yep. Happy Easter, everybody.
Yeah,
make sure you hide the eggs well for the kids. That's important. But hopefully we have some nice Easter weather coming up, and maybe, just maybe, we get some more glimpses of spring as we go through the week.
We can only hope.
Yes, we can. That's all we can do is just hope.
Well, that'll wrap up this week's show. For Scott Geis, Daryl Henry saying so long. Join us again next Monday at 4, York College Spartans Sports Weekly, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, York.